Jennifer asks, any ideas on how to help feeding therapy when a parent has high anxiety over choking, yeah, and chewing issues? I feel the child is feeding off their anxiety. Oh, Jennifer, that's a great question. It's part of the reason why I'm glad you asked it, because it's part of the reason why I'm developing a new online course. I'll have it up in January, and it's all about pediatric feeding and anxiety. And we are going to address with an expert on anxiety, not only the anxiety in the child, but also anxiety in the parents. Listen, we all have anxiety. I mean, you're a human being. We all have anxiety. And it comes out in different ways depending on where our fears lie. For the families in feeding therapy, especially if they have a child who had a choking episode and that led to the feeding issue, or they tend to choke because of medical reasons, etc., they're anxious about choking. And when you're worried about the person across the table choking on something, and you're feeling like all you can do is sit there and stare and wait and jump in case they're going to have the Heimlich, you have to do the Heimlich, your anxiety is going up for that entire meal because you are anxiously holding onto the edge of the table, scared that that kid's about to choke. Absolutely, the child is going to pick up on that and literally feed on that anxiety. So you're for sure, you're right. In Raising a Healthy, Happy Eater, there's a good story in the back about a mom here in Colorado who she was so nervous about her child. And it gives me goosebumps to talk about it because she wrote in the book for me her story. And one of the things she said is that when I first came over to their home to see her son, who had reduced his repertoire of foods down to potato chips and French fries. This kid had hair that was like steel wool. Like, he was so malnourished, steel wool. He was super skinny and had a lot of behavior challenges. That mom was so frightened for her child that as we sat there during the first session at their dining room table, I looked over at her and she truly was looking at the kid like this. And I had to get up and quietly get her out of the room and say to her, you have got to wipe that scared look off your face. And she said, what do you mean? What scared look? She had no idea that she looked like that. I said, I need you to do your best Academy Award performance. I need you to fake it. I know you're scared, but you've got to have a more relaxed look on your face. And the way she phrased it in this beautiful essay that she wrote for the book was, I realized then after talking to Mel that the change in my child begins with the change in me. So talk to your parents about, I know you're scared. I know this is really frightening. You've got to put on your best Oscar-winning performance. And even if you have to practice in front of a mirror and you can't look scared, you also can't react. I want you to watch me. If I'm being calm, you've got to be calm. I had a dad who was so frightened about his child's eating habits that he kept picking up the spoon and putting food in the child's mouth. And the whole reason I came over to work with the family is the little boy was going to preschool and he refused to feed himself. He absolutely had the motor skills to do it, but his dad was so worried about this child that he couldn't not put food in the kid's mouth. And we run into that all the time, where parents will follow the child around the house and keep putting goldfish in the kid's mouth at every chance they get. A lot of that is because, no offense to parents or pediatricians, that sometimes pediatricians will say, just put some weight on that kid. Every time he opens his mouth, put some ice cream in there. And they mean well, but that's actually not a good habit to get into. And all it does is squelch the parent's anxiety. Every time the parent puts food in their mouth, in the kid's mouth, they feel better. And that's why they get like that. So to help the parents that are listening and the professionals who would like to help with that, talk to them about faking it. Like, you can't look so worried sitting on their hands. You cannot put food in this kid's mouth. Having a meal schedule. Be sure to look on the free toolbox page. I'll put a link to it about the typical mealtime schedule that we need kids to be on. And being willing, parent bravely, to not feed that child for 2 hours. Kids do not have to graze all day long. Likewise, when they're at the table, even if you have to have a little bit of a calming routine, lighting a candle, singing a song, whatever it happens to be, 3 deep breaths before you call everybody to the table, you've got to reduce your own anxiety in order for the child to have less anxiety around food. I do have an article on my website, and I'll put the link in the comments for you, about how to reduce our own stress when we have a picky eater. It's one that I wrote for Asha along with a child psychologist. I'll put that in there for you as well. So hopefully that helped.